Hello, are you here to debate?
Yes.
Okay, what's your name, age, and pronouns?
Name's Matthew. Age 43. Pronouns him, he,
Okay,
his.
are you going to vote for the enemy of the people, Donald Trump?
Haven't voted yet actually. Kind of wanted to actually get into just a general debate. I was more wondering, why are you voting for Kamala Harris?
Because she's not Donald Trump.
And is that the only reason?
Oh, I feel like that's the only one I need, to be honest with you. I mean, she has actual policies. He doesn't. She didn't try to overthrow a U.S. election. He did. She has never been held civilly liable for sexual assault. He has. She wasn't found
What
guilty of
policies?
34 fel fifty
What
thousand
policies
dollar
are you?
yeah $50,000 credit on new businesses tax credit, $25,000 tax credit for first time home buyers, raising the child tax credit to $6,000.
So the $50,000 tax credit for beginning small businesses, is that a yearly?
No, it's just a raise from the current $5,000 tax credit to a $50,000 one.
Okay, so you get the one-time credit and that's it, correct?
Yeah, because like startup is when like businesses need that the most. Is like as they're starting up, their first year in businesses tends to be
Sure.
when they
Yeah,
need the
sure.
tax credit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but after that, what's next?
Well, after that, you
After you
try
start,
to run
because
your
being a
business.
business owner, I already know this, but what's next? I mean,
What next do you
is
get now?
once the $50,000 tax credit has gone through and your business starts to suffer due to tax implementations towards small businesses, then what?
What negative taxes is she trying to implement towards small businesses?
Uh, just a tax hike in general is a tax upon most small businesses.
Do you think that she's how do you think she's trying to tax hike small businesses specifically?
Yeah, sure. I mean, taxes are taxes.
Where?
The Treasury's going to get their revenue one way or the other. Doesn't matter where they get it. They're going to get it off of consumer goods and so on and so forth. I'm just trying to figure out where your logic is, thinking that the one-time $50,000, starting a business tax credit is going to, once you start the business, where do you go from there?
Well, because
What happens
again, when
when
new
your
businesses
product? What
tend
happens
to
when
have the issues
your
within the
supply
first
chain
year,
starts getting taxed to death, and you no longer can afford your supply?
where has she said she wants to increase taxes on the supply chains? Trump would be the one doing that. Trump's
It's
the one who wants to impose tariffs on imported goods. That would
No, that's
be
a tariff. There's a difference between tariff and taxes.
a tariff is a tax.
A tariff is a tax from imports.
Who pays the
A
tariff?
tax is something that's being the exporter from the other
No,
continent.
incorrect. The importer pays the tax. The exporter doesn't pay anything on a tariff. The importer pays
The
the tax on a
importer
tariff.
that is importing, the importer is not the one that is fully responsible for the tariffs.
Yes, they are. The tariffs are not paid by the exporting country. They're not paid by the exporting business. 0% of the tariff is paid by them. A tariff is a tax that you put on the import of goods. So when you are buying and importing the good, you as the company pay the tariff. So you said you were against taxes for people to receive supplies, but you're for Donald Trump, who is going to implement tariffs, which are a tax on businesses that are trying to import supplies.
But he's going to reduce taxes for businesses.
With what?
Small businesses. That's what he's going to do. He's going to reduce taxes for businesses, for large corporations and small corporations.
Small businesses
Trump is a flat rate tax guy.
Yeah, small businesses didn't see a boost under Trump. That's why we saw new small business growth was higher under Biden's administration than under Trump's administration.
And where does it show that?
What? You can just look at the small business numbers if you go to like the Bureau of Labor stats. Like how many new small businesses started under each president.
There's a lot of small businesses that shut down due to the pandemic. So you really can't claim
that about pandemics.
During the end of his administration, he had to deal with a pandemic.
I'm not talking about pandemics. I'm talking about new growth. under his presidency. These are new small businesses that were started under his presidency, not the ending of small businesses, just new small business growth.
New small business growth was at its highest. It was
No, it's at its highest
70%
right
higher
now.
than it is now.
It's at its highest right now.
Yeah, from 2016 to 2019, it was at its highest.
No, it's at its
It was
highest
a
right now.
70% growth through the entire economy. You can look at the GDP.
Incorrect. It's at its highest. New small businesses are at their highest right now.
But the small businesses, as it wasn't support this country.
The whole conversation we've been having.
People don't invest in small businesses.
Wait, I brought up a policy that Kamala Harris was going to pass that I believe will help the American economy, which is $50,000 tax credit for new small businesses. Your retort was that Kamala Harris is not actually going to help small businesses, and that Trump helped small businesses more. Then when I brought up the fact that new small business growth is
taxes.
bigger, when I brought up
He's
the fact
he's
not cutting taxes for small businesses. That's not who's getting the taxes cut.
He's cutting taxes across the board. He's cutting taxes across the board. He's flatline taxes.
No, he's not.
Cutting taxes across the board.
Why was the middle class taxes higher this year?
Okay, go ahead. Why were they higher this year?
That's the question. If Donald Trump cut taxes, why was middle class taxes higher this year?
This year?
Yes.
Or during his administration?
We are still under his tax code.
Taxes aren't higher.
Middle class taxes were higher this year than they have been previously. Why?
They're not higher.
They are. Middle class Americans are paying more and receiving less than previous years. Why?
I mean, 17.8% is 17.8%. I mean, regardless.
So,
I mean, the more money you take, the more the more money you make, the more they take. It's just simple math.
So the correct answer.
We're not exporting. The people of the United States right now are the gross domestic product of this nation, and we shouldn't be. The taxes collected over time should not be the majority of the revenue for this country.
Did you just say the
Plain and
people
simple
are the GDP? Is that what you just said?
Yes, we are. Go look at it. The taxes collected off of the United States people and businesses is the main revenue for this entire country. Our main revenue isn't coming from export. It's coming from tax collection. So you explain to me where you enjoy the money that you earn being taken from you to support this country, not to mention what they do with the money.
That's
that we don't vote for. You're talking about policies. I mean, these policies don't lead. These policies, they're sitting there. They're sitting there taking these policies and shifting around the policies so that the people of the United States continue being the gross domestic product of this state.
Fam, GDP is not just revenue. It's not just counting all the revenue you get. It's quite literally
then what is the
about
deficit?
GDP. The deficit.
What is the deficit? What is the deficit based off of? What is that deficit based off of?
The deficit is going to be the amount that we spend versus the amount that we take in. That would create a deficit.
And why are we spending? And why are we spending more than we're taking?
Because we had to come out of a recession, of a COVID recession. You have to spend. You typically spend more when big
part of that
bad
deficit,
things happen in the world.
What part of that deficit is? What about the money that's being given away to foreign countries? And
that
for
money
what purpose?
has always been given away. We always have a set of money set aside for foreign aid. Always. But even if we're going to look at the deficit, Trump increased the debt more than Biden did.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
That's
Pre-COVID, false. No, it's not. Non-COVID spending.
He didn't. He did
non-COVID spending.
$2.7 trillion of that was rollover from the Affordable Care Act.
No, it wasn't.
He generated 3.8. He had a total of a little over $8 trillion, and then you added the other 3.5. trillion from the
Non-COVID
pandemic.
spending.
So
Non-COVID
what are you
spending.
talking
Trump's
about?
at 4.8 trillion.
There's no pandemic anymore to blame it on.
Non-pandemic spending. Trump would be at 4.8 trillion. Non-pandemic spending, Biden would be at 2.2 trillion. You don't know what you're talking about. You just don't have these actual numbers.
7.5. 7.5. 7.5 trillion is how much has been spent. 7.5.
No, it's
You're
not.
looking at the wrong one.
I'm looking at non-COVID spending.
Okay, yeah, you were right about Trump's, but you weren't right about Biden's.
Yes, I am.
It's
Non-COVID related
shown
spending.
across.
Biden's at 2.2 trillion. Non-COVID related spending.
The COVID was gone.
When
was
Biden took
post-COVID,
office, you're claiming COVID was gone? Is that serious?
It was
that
pretty
you're
much
saying?
the end of it, yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't. Not even close.
The majority of the workforce was back to work.
That doesn't mean COVID was over.
That means that there was no longer a ceased revenue.
Incorrect. Incorrect.
How is that incorrect?
When it comes to
when people go back to work and people are considered the primary source of income for this country, then yeah, that would basically be the end of it. It was trickling back in.
If you think just
during
going
the
back
beginning
to work,
of Joe Biden's administration.
First of all, return to work happened in 2023. Like that's when like the bulk of people returned to work. Was end of 2020 or not end of 2020? I'm sorry, end of 2022. That's when people returned to work. About half of employees returned to work in 2022. So 2021, they did not return to work. Second, return to work isn't the only thing that's going to get our economy back up. There's also dealing with the massive supply chain issues that went on pre-COVID, dealing with the inflation that was brought on because of COVID, because of said supply chain issues. Like just people going back to work does not fix the economy.
The supply chain doesn't get distributed without people going back to work. Where do you see the supply chain ending? The ports? You think the ports is the only source of our supply chain?
Supply chain issues don't just affect us. It's a global thing.
The supply chain directly to the United States does affect us. And the reason that we have to utilize the supply chain from other countries more so than what we should does affect us.
I'm sorry, what does that mean? Utilize the supply chain from other countries more than ours.
When you go out to the grocery store and you buy something, where is it usually made? I mean, where is it produced and where is it sent from?
What do you think a supply chain is?
What do you see most of?
What do you think a supply chain is?
Because I see China, I see Taiwan, I see all of that stuff. That's where a lot of that stuff is coming from. We don't actually manufacture much of this ourselves anymore.
That's not
70% of our wheat comes from Ukraine.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Yeah.
70% of our wheat, our bread, the bread that we all eat. It comes from Ukraine. Why do you think we're so heavily defending Ukraine at this point? 70% of our wheat comes from Ukraine. We don't manufacture our own bread here as much as we import it.
Well, if we import the wheat, we would manufacture the bread.
Okay. Still the same. You're importing the grain. Without the grain, you can't make the bread. But we're still importing it rather than harvesting it here in our nation. We're not manufacturing our independence at any time soon. We're going to have to continue to import it. So one of the resolves to doing this would be raising tariffs to get the manufacturing back here to the United States. Lower the taxes and give tax incentives for opening up manufacturing and big business here in the United States so we can sustain ourselves versus importing it.
Wait,
Doesn't that sound
wait,
logic?
this is all incorrect. We produce 50% of the wheat that the world like we export 50% of our wheat. We are making the wheat. We just export 50% of it.
Then why are we importing it? That's even a bigger question.
I can't
Then why are
find
we
I
importing
can't
it?
find any evidence that we import. What did you say? 70%? 60%?
Yeah,
I'm finding no evidence that we
yeah,
import that much wheat from anywhere.
yeah. That's
I'm showing our
it is what it is.
largest wheat trader is Canada, and we only take in like, what did it say? Like point something from Canada. Where are you getting this number that we get 40 or 60% of our wheat from the Ukraine?
That was what I looked at online. That's what I found online. They're one of our biggest importers of wheat, grain.
Importers or exporters? Are
They're
they an
importers.
importer? They are an importer. So that means we give them the wheat.
No, no. We take in.
Then they would be an exporter.
Yeah, they're exporting to us.
I'm finding none of this. No data backing this anywhere. Not even from the USDA. Which I would assume if the data existed, it would be the USDA.
But how many look up to see how much of our own stuff do we actually manufacture?
Well, we manufacture a ton of stuff, but the thing is, we don't manufacture the small things. We do like advanced manufacturing. We take all the small little bits and pieces from other countries and we put it together to make a bigger thing, right? When we're making cars in the US, we're not making all the parts for the car. We're not making all the steel for the car. We're getting all of that stuff in and then putting it all together in a car shape.
But we were supplying the majority of the fuel for it.
What? We still are. We export way more than we import when it comes to fuel, and we produce way more than we consume.
We refine more, but
no,
we don't actually drill it.
Well, yes,
and we're almost out of our we're using up our reserves right now to keep the gas prices low. So the gas price is low right now because we're using our reserves. So we're going to use all of our reserves before we start drilling again.
Wait, we are currently drilling more than we ever have in the past.
No, we're not. He stopped
yes, we
all
are.
that. He
put
an executive order to that.
Incorrect. Biden has given more drilling leases. In fact, he gave more drilling leases through the infrastructure deal than like any president has at one single given time. We currently, per the, what is it? It's the U.S. Department of Energy numbers. We currently produce more oil than we consume. We produce more than we consume right now.
Produce.
Yes.
Not acquire.
Produce
is where we pull in drums of oil and we refine it. We have the best refineries in the world.
No, produce as in we create the oil. Fully, like it's fully ours. We do not import it because that would be the import and export numbers. And we export more than we import.
I don't know what you're looking at, but that's not
the U.S. Energy Information Administration. That's who gives these numbers.
.com or .org?
This would be .gov. But also, what?
And that's for these dates?
Yes.
That's for this administration?
Yes, this is currently right now.
There's no way. Then why was the gas price so high?
Okay, for two reasons. One, COVID. Two, Donald Trump made a deal in 2020, in April of 2020, with OPEC that they would halt production by 10% because gas was plummeting in price. So he made a call to this Prince of Saudi Arabia. He said, if you guys don't cut production, I'm going to not provide you military support. So they cut production, and then the gas prices went back up. Like almost immediately. It happened in 2021. We felt the repercussions. And then OPEC couldn't get back on track production wise until 2023. That's why we've seen a level off since 2023 of gas prices. And they've currently leveled. They're like between 320 and 350 now is where they just consistently have been sitting.
And what's up with this change with the Department of Defense then?
What changed with the Department of Defense?
The change where they would be allowed to take lethal action against.
That's not what happened.
U.S. citizens.
That's not what happened. And if you look at like everybody in the military who's reading that, they're all like, this is not a thing. What happened is there was a document that went out that tells how the military, it governs how the military intelligence activities are performed and how they interact with police departments when police departments use lethal force on citizens. That's what that said.
But it's pretty much said that they were going to be allowed to take lethal action against.
No, it didn't.
It says it on page. It says it on the document.
I promise you, it does not.
It says it on page 12.
No, it doesn't.
Are you looking at it?
Yes, I've looked at it. I've read it. I've read all the responses coming through the actual Department of Defense. In fact, this is what the Pentagon literally said. The provisions in the directive are not new and do not authorize the Secretary of Defense to use lethal force against U.S. citizens, contrary to rumors and rhetoric circulating on social media. That's the Department of Defense said this, like, directly.
Okay, so now you got to actually say where. So how is Kamala Harris actually going to make things better? How is she going to reduce this massive inflation?
So our inflation's at 2.3 or 2.4%. What does she need to still reduce? We're at 2.4. She just has to maintain 2.4. But she has suggested things
reduced it by 2.4.
No.
The inflation is a total. So it's what? 39.8. Is that what I'm seeing?
The inflation rate is at 2.4%.
The rate. I'm talking about to reduce price.
Yeah, there's
altogether.
no. You can't reduce.
She keeps on saying she's going to work with them.
Wait,
she's going to work with.
First of all, price controls would be the only way to reduce price. There's no other way to reduce price other than price controls. When it comes to Kamala and like the Democrats, Kamala Harris has said multiple times that she wants to put caps so that people can't price control or like price gouge. She wants to put caps in for price gouging. Every Republican is against that. So like, what else can she do?
I haven't seen any proof of actually price gouging. I'm seeing where a general inflation is causing the supply chain to increase their prices, which is in turn causing everything else to go up.
There's absolutely price gouging. Walmart, Target, all of these places have admitted
donated $34
that they rose their prices.
$1 per felony.
That they rose their prices in order to just because they could. They only did it because people would pay them. And hence why these companies are making record profits and not relaying those profits back to the consumer.
Well, nothing gets relayed back to the consumer.
Well, that's because of price gouging. If you're making record profits, why wouldn't you lower the price of your item?
Because there's no competition.
What do you mean there's no competition?
There's no competition. It's not competitive.
What do you mean? There's like 50 grocery stores.
You would only lower your prices if there was a competitor out there reducing their prices to where it was more affordable, and then more people would flock to where it was the least cost.
Again, what do you mean? There's like 50 grocery stores. What are you talking about?
People shop based off of convenience. You're not going to go to a grocery store that's 20 miles away to buy something for cheaper when you've got a grocery store that's 5 miles away that's going to be selling something for maybe $2 more than what the other grocery
This
store is going to be
is
selling.
just like
So it's
utterly
based off of
not the
convenience.
case.
All businesses are based off of where they're located and convenience, where population is.
When it comes to Target, do you think Target does not have competition?
I don't know. I don't shop Target. I shop
Okay.
like Lidl's.
What do you
And
think
Aldi.
Donald Trump is going to do to lower the price of goods at the grocery store? What do you think he's going to specifically do to do this?
Give tax incentives to lower prices.
He already gave tax incentives. We're still under his tax plan, so why haven't the prices gone lower?
I'm not saying where we're under his tax plan. I haven't been able to find
The Tax
anything where
Cuts
we're
and
under
Jobs
his
Act
tax plan.
has been in effect since 2018, and it will
All
be
of
in
his
effect
tax
until
plans,
2025.
all of his tax plans are showing to be stricken away
Incorrect.
at the beginning of this administration.
Incorrect. We are currently under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. There is no tax code that has been implemented by the current administration. Zero, none, zilp, zitch, zada.
And where is this located at?
In the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, in the bill directly.
Current to date.
Yes.
And why the hell did this administration even come through if they weren't going to change certain things?
Because
and why did
they
they allow the
can't change
inflation
the
to happen
tax
in the
code.
first place?
Because Congress approved the tax code, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, to be in effect until 2025. They can't just come in and change that. That's not how Congress works.
So why is everybody so bent over this abortion stuff? I heard you have that long conversation earlier.
Because women are dying because they're unable to access proper reproductive care. A woman in Texas just died like today because she was unable to have an abortion, and she went septic and died.
Don't a lot of women die from not having proper care?
Yes, but maternal mortality across the country has gone up since the implementation of, or since the repeal of Roe v. Wade. Maternal mortality is up. More women are dying in childbirth.
How many states has that actually applied to?
There's like, there's like 30 something states that have abortion restrictions?
Now, are these abortions, are they coming directly from tax dollars or are they coming from insurance policies?
No abortions can come from tax dollars because the Hyde Amendment was passed years ago. So it's been illegal for taxpayer monies to fund abortions since like what? When was the Hyde Amendment passed? 2008, I think. 2004. No, I'm sorry, 1977. It's been illegal to use federal funds, taxpayer dollars, for abortion since 1977.
I thought the laws already included that abortions could happen if it came to life of the mother.
No. There are multiple states where that can happen. And there are multiple states where when it comes to abortions, for instance, if we look at Texas, right? Texas has 0 exceptions. The fetus must be dead before you can perform an abortion. So a woman just had a miscarriage. The fetus didn't pass. She went to have an abortion. They said no because it's illegal. And she got sepsis and died.
So the other guy said there was what? Too many too many babies getting aborted late term. You said what, 24 weeks?
Only like
Is that what you
1%
said?
of abortions happen after after the second trimester. Like 1%.
Okay. Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I still don't know. I still don't. I don't like either one of them. I don't like either one of them.
Either one of what?
Either one of the candidates. I don't like. I don't like having either one of them. I wish we could have a better set of candidates.
Okay. But we don't.
Kamala here, she. I don't see where she's going to be very competent. Run.
Based on what?
She just. She just seems completely disingenuous
Based on
compared
what?
to Trump.
Based on what? She seems disingenuous
Mm-hmm.
compared to Trump?
Yeah.
People have to sue Donald Trump just for him to pay them. Do you know how many times he gets sued because he refuses to pay people? Famously, Barbara Cochran, millionaire real person. Trump had properties and he hired her to sell those properties. He did not pay her. She had to sue him so he would pay her.
So you think Camilla is the better one?
Who?
You think it's Kamala?
Yes, I think
You
compared
think
to Donald
Kamala
Trump,
Harris
yeah. It's not even a close
is
contest.
your choice?
She's
Obviously.
not my choice, but in comparison to Donald Trump, it's not even close.
All righty then. Well, it was good debating with you. I appreciate all your answers.
All right.
Have a good one. Bye bye.
You too.